Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're about to get into some stuff and there's going to be plenty of videos later on about all kinds of things that are going on right now. So do not forget to subscribe, okay? Today is the day we're going to be talking about El Paso. And I'll just go ahead and start off with a little disclaimer because I don't want to offend anybody. That's not what this video is about. This video is purely meant to educate anybody who is getting stationed here and has never heard of it or seen it or been around it. And you'd like to know a little bit about the place that you're moving to from somebody else who has been sent here too. You know, I want it to be something that like you can maybe just have in order to mentally prepare yourself to move somewhere that you've never seen. It's kind of a big deal for anyone who hasn't done it, especially when you don't have any choice of like where you're moving. You know, most people who move out of state from what they're used to choose where they're going next, you know what I mean? So I think that this video is going to be helpful, and I really wish that I would have had a video like this or thought to look for one when we were moving, but it just didn't even cross my mind. So hopefully this helps somebody out there who is getting ready to move and is nervous about it, or maybe just like doesn't know what to expect. I'm here for you. I got you. We're gonna do this together. But I just don't want to offend anyone who subscribes to this channel or knows me or has met me in the past year of me living here, who has lived here their whole life, and they think that I'm like coming for their town. Like, that's not what this is. There are so many good parts of El Paso. This is just my personal opinion of the place. There's good parts and there's bad parts, just like with every city. So this has nothing to do with like, you know, screw your hometown kind of a thing. I just like, I know that people who haven't grown up here may need to like be made aware of certain things before they move down, things that I wish I would have had. So with that said, I love every single person that I've gotten close to in the past year who is from here. This is, again, just my personal opinion on the place. So here we go. I'll go ahead and start off with just like something easy. The climate, the weather here, if you've never lived in a dry desert type of climate, that's exactly what this is. I mean, it is warm year round for sure. I would say it's a typical desert, but it does rain like fairly often. It happens kind of randomly and out of nowhere, but they do get a lot of thunderstorms. There's a lot of lightning. There's a lot of, you know, just a lot of rain, which kind of threw me off. I wasn't expecting it, but they're mostly just cloudbursts. They don't happen very frequently. Like, it's not going to rain like 3 times a week, but it does randomly have like, they do, I don't know how to explain it. There's often a chance, maybe like 3 or 4 times a month, that there's just a cloudburst and it's random and it just comes down pouring for like an hour and then it'll be clear skies again and like nothing ever happened. So that's one thing that I definitely didn't expect. I thought it was just gonna be dry and hot all the time, which, don't get me wrong, it is always warm here. I'm from Colorado, if you guys didn't know. So I'm used to 4 seasons, 4 very distinct seasons. And this place has 2. I was gonna say 3, but I don't really think they have a winter. And I don't really see a whole lot of spring as like I would recognize it. Okay, maybe they have. It's hard. I feel like they have a summer and a fall because it's like hot starting in like April. Like first day of April, it's 90 degrees, which is so wild to me because in Colorado, it can snow until like May. I'm pretty sure it snowed in like July at some point. You know, so I'm used to it being pretty chilly and like wet and like spring, still kind of snowing, but you know, whatever. I'm used to that. That's like my usual. Here, it's not like that. So it's pretty hot up until like November. Like even now, it's cooling down. It's no longer like 90 degrees every day. Thank you, God. But it's also not fall weather, really. So basically what I'm saying is if you are used to a warmer climate, you don't really like winter, snow, four seasons, ugh, you just rather have it be kind of nice all year round, this is the place for you. I'm not used to that. I like my four seasons, so I'm not jiving with the idea of it being 90 degrees from April till October. That's just like not my cup of tea. But I'm adjusting, I'm getting used to it. We'll be here for another 3 years, so I better get used to it. It is kind of nice not having to shovel snow or clean off our cars. I mean, we wouldn't anyways because we have a garage, but it's nice to not have to deal with the aftermath of snow, like slush, driving conditions, ice. That's not really a thing, which is dope. It does like kind of frost, if you will. So you'll wake up one morning and be pulling out of your garage and you'll see frost on your grass or turf, which is what people use here because it gets so hot. There's no real way to like keep grass alive here. So most people have turf, which I thought was really weird coming from Colorado, because if someone in Colorado has turf, like you make fun of them. It's like ridiculous to have turf in Colorado, but it's not ridiculous here. It is pretty much the norm, and I cannot imagine actually having real grass here. It would be a disaster. Like it would be dead. Like I wouldn't be able to keep it alive. So another little tidbit for another time, but you'll see frost every now and then because during the winter months, I'd say like late November through like January, maybe even February too, honestly, it gets really freaking cold at night, like 30 and below, which I thought was really weird because during the day it'll be a nice like 60 degrees and at night it's like 0. I think that's kind of like a desert thing, if I'm wrong. I mean, I feel like that might be a desert thing, but it does get really cold at night during the winter months, but I think like the coldest it got was like 45 degrees during winter here, and that was like one day. So, I mean, it's really not cold. If you're from like Colorado or any state that has a full 4 seasons and you're used to snow, it's not gonna be cold here. It's gonna be kind of nice. Like I really never wore my like thick warm winter jacket ever. I think I wore like a light jacket sometimes if I knew I was going to be out at night, but I never wore a thick jacket, and you don't need it. So that might be nice for some people. I did kind of enjoy not having the snow this year and being able to like fly home and visit it, but then come home and not have to deal with it, you know? So that's kind of a plus. But yeah, that's pretty much it for weather. Summers are hot, 100 degrees every day, starting around like May. I think that it started hitting like 90 degrees like late April. So prepare yourself for that. It's hot, and it's been hot even still. Like the past couple of weeks of October have been the first time in months and months that it has been below 90 degrees. I started like looking on my phone, like just praying to see like 80 degrees, you know, because I just like, it gets really hot here to the point where you don't even want to really leave the house. And they don't have pools. They don't have like community pools. So like a lot of the neighborhoods around here don't have HOAs, which is weird for me too, but it's fine. they don't have HOAs, so they don't have like clubhouses, and they don't have pools for like the neighborhoods and the community, which I found really, really, really strange. But it is what it is. So you don't really want to go out in the heat during the summer, because if you don't have a pool in your own backyard, like you have to drive like 30 minutes to go to an outdoor pool. I live on the east side anyway, so like if you live on the west side, it might be different. If you live central, it might be different. But like east side, El Paso doesn't have any community pools. It really sucks. So like if you want to go out into the sun and like lay out or be by a pool, you kind of have to make a full day of it and drive somewhere to go do it, which I thought was so lame. And it's like $20,000 to build a pool, so it's just like not happening. So we just don't go out in it, hence why I'm pale. After summer's over, like didn't tan at all this year like I thought I would in a desert, because there's no pools. What the heck? So that's annoying. As far as the people go, I will say that everyone I've met face to face here has been very kind. There's been a few instances where people look at me weird because I don't speak Spanish, and that's been a little awkward, because those people haven't necessarily been like nice about it. They're just kind of like, why the fuck don't you speak Spanish? You look Hispanic, like why don't you speak your own language? And so that's kind of weird, because I'm looking around like, this is Texas, you understand. We may be very close to the border, but we're still in Texas. So that's been awkward a few different times, because I'm just like, sorry, like I just don't. Like I can understand some of it, but I don't speak fluent Spanish. But everyone I've met in person, for the most part, has been very kind, very nice people, laid back, sometimes a little too laid back, but it's whatever. Everyone's been nice. When we were in the stages of trying to find a house here, it was hard. Not gonna lie, it was kind of annoying. I learned very quickly that they don't really respond to women. If it's a man, I noticed this, like if it's a man talking to you, like you're trying to get a hold of a property manager or whoever's renting out the house that you're looking at, if it's a guy, good luck, sweetie. They don't respond to women. If it's a girl, I didn't really have any issues, I guess. It was fine, but we mostly dealt with men when we were looking into houses and stuff out here to rent. So the guy that helped us with this house was extremely difficult. John was actually in training down in Georgia while we were looking for a house here, so I was kind of alone in Colorado trying to like organize our move and figure out where we're going. So most of the things that needed to happen, I was orchestrating that. So if I needed a question answered, or I wanted to know more information about a house, or I needed details on something, like when we found this house, I needed to know the deposit, I needed to know if we would be able to do a virtual tour, I needed to know, details. I needed to know if this was going to happen or not. Because it's very, very stressful having to move blind. Having never seen the house, never been able to, just come take a look at things, make sure everything's working. We really moved in blind as can be, okay? So I needed some questions answered before we did that. And it would take weeks, and I'm not exaggerating, you guys. It would take weeks of me like sending him multiple messages over and over again to get him to respond to me. And they would be like 2-sentence answers. And I was just like, dude, I don't know what your deal is. I don't know if you're just extremely unprofessional or what, but like you can't ignore me like that. Like I'm a customer. Like you're helping me rent this home, and I have questions that need answers before I'm signing anything. And so I got so frustrated after like a month of dealing with this guy. So I contact John, who again is in Georgia in training. And I didn't want to like bug him during his stuff. You know, I was like, I'll take care of it. I'm not doing anything. I was working like part-time at the time, but like I had already graduated college. I wasn't doing anything. And I enjoy that stuff. Hence why I'm getting my real estate certification, because I enjoy it. So I finally gave up and reached out to John and was like, please email this man and see if he responds to you. Cause I don't know if he just like doesn't want to deal with someone who's out of state, if he has other people that are interested in this house that live in El Paso and he just like doesn't want to deal with us. We're too much effort. I don't know what the deal is, but like, please reach out to him. It's driving me crazy. John sent him an email asking him the same questions I had, literally the exact same. I sent him the emails so that he could see the questions that I needed answered. He sent the same questions to this man, got an answer almost immediately, like 10 minutes later. That's when I knew that it was a gender thing. I was like, oh, okay. And it irritated me so much that I just kind of threw my hands up and I was like, fine, you're talking to him from now on because I'm not dealing with it. So we had to deal with the same guy because he was the one that was like putting us through to the property management so we could sign the lease and all of this crap, right? So we dealt with him and we ended up moving. Everything was smooth. We went through pods, by the way. Pods was amazing. I know a lot of you who are military are married, so you don't have to worry about it. The Army will move you, all expense paid, whatever. John and I are not married, so I knew there was going to be a little bit of a conflict between like them being willing to move his things and then not being willing to move mine, you know, because we're not married, whatever. So I just knew that was going to be an issue. So I was like, forget it. Let's just go through pods. We'll try it out. They were a little pricey because it was out of state, but the Army reimbursed us for the move because we're moving for a job. So that was amazing. And like, it was just so nice to be able to like fill the pod, leave it, start our drive down to Texas. And we ended up staying a few nights in Colorado Springs with his parents. And then once they beat us, they picked it up and they beat us to Texas. They left the storage container with all of our stuff in it at their storage facility. And then we made it to El Paso. We had a few extra days before we could move in. So we stayed at a hotel. And then we basically called them and was like, hey, drop off the storage unit at 8 a.m. on Friday. We're moving in. Okay. And they dropped it off, left it for 24 hours. We moved in. They picked it up, you know, the next morning or whatever. And that was it. It was so nice. And so we'll probably end up going through them forever because like they were awesome. And they have a military discount and everything. So it was just really, really cool. So just so you know, that's how we had to move. But that was a good experience. Moving in was fine. But then we had to start utilities, and we already had Vivint, which is like a home security system. We needed to get our internet put in. We needed to buy a washer and dryer. We had a couple other things that we just needed someone to come install for us. And I noticed, again, no one wanted to talk to me. So if John was with me, if I was alone, everything's Gucci. But if John was there, I was not. When we went to Best Buy almost immediately to go buy a washer and dryer, because we had been on the road for a couple days, we knew we were going to need to do laundry soon. So we bought a washer and dryer right out the gate. When we were at Best Buy, no one would talk to me. They would go right up to John, ask him if he needed any help, if he needed to, to find anything, like questions, whatever. And then when the guy came to, actually that was a whole debacle. The guy who came to install was fine, but he was like, wouldn't make eye contact with me when he was in our house, And while he was setting things up, John was kind of like overseeing and just making sure that, like, you know, whatever he was making sure of, I don't know. But he was kind of standing and watching the guy, and the guy was like, so, you know, this is how you use it, and blah, 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 blah. And like, I don't know about you guys, but like, John does not do laundry, I do. So I kind of like chimed in, because at this point I'm like, I am so tired of these men like ignoring the fact that I'm even present within this household right now. And so I kind of like chirped over John's shoulder. I was like, could you tell me how to use it, considering I'm the one that's going to be doing the laundry? And he was like, oh yeah, still not making eye contact. Oh yeah, and like explained it to me. And I was just like, what is the deal? The same thing happened. Actually, the guy that installed our internet was very nice. Wasn't from El Paso. He was very nice. He talked to me the whole time. I made him some coffee. Oh no, actually we gave him an energy drink. He was a very nice guy. So he was nice, but then the guy had to come back for our washer because there was a lot of calcium deposit in the pipes that go into our washer. And that's one thing. Water's hard here, guys. So you're gonna need water softener, or you're gonna have to be dealing with a lot of calcium deposit. Even in our filter, we have an awesome brand new filter in our fridge, and I still see white marks everywhere, and it's just calcium deposit, which like, it won't hurt you, but it's gross. I come from Colorado, which is like the cleanest freaking water you can have. And it's weird to me. I don't like it. So that's something that you'll have to deal with. Hopefully whatever house you rent or whatever, whether it's on base or not, has water filters or water softener or something like that. So kind of got sidetracked, but yeah, the men here don't like talking to the women if there's a man present. I have no idea why. If someone could explain that to me, please explain it to me, because I come from a place where I am not like disregarded. I'm respected. I'm a respected woman, an adult, and a human. Like, I usually dominate the conversation anyways, so it's very weird for me for someone to look at me as like the woman of the household and like push me to the side and only talk to John. It's not my cup of tea. It'll probably happen to you too. Just saying. It's happened to a couple of my girlfriends too who have moved down here. They can vouch for me. I'm not being crazy. So yeah, that's been kind of weird. The professionalism alone, man, is just not it here. It's really bad, you guys. Like, I know I just seem like I'm venting, but like, this is for real. I had no idea that that would be an issue when we moved here, and I kind of wish that I did, so that I could kind of like mentally prepare. But like, holy crap, you guys, it's unreal. Like, they just don't have any sense of urgency. Like, everyone's late to everything. It doesn't matter if you're talking to your real estate agent. It doesn't matter if you're talking to a property manager, to your boss. It doesn't matter if you make an appointment to hang out with or not an appointment, but like, you know, you go to hang out with a couple of friends that you met here. If they grew up here, I guarantee they're gonna be late. It happened to me so many times when I was working. I worked at a couple different places, and every single employee was always late to every single shift. It was very rare that a person would show up on time, and 9 times out of 10, they either didn't grow up here or they moved and came back. And those were the only people that were ever on time to anything. People who never lived here before this, or moved away from El Paso for a long amount of time and then have just happened to move back. It's weird, you guys, and it drives me crazy. It is like my biggest pet peeve for people to be late. It shows such a lack of discipline, and you just have no consideration for the person that you're meeting with. That's why I'm like coming across so aggressive right now, but like, that is my biggest pet peeve. Like, why do you have to be late to things? Just leave. Know how long it takes you to get ready in the morning so that you can figure out when to wake up. Like, it's not that hard, and it just shows that like people just don't care here. They just don't care. Like, people would show up at any time when I was working. Like, it didn't matter when their shift was. They could roll in there an hour late and chances are no one was gonna say anything to them, which like blows my mind. In Colorado, if you did that, you would have been written up the first time and fired the second time. The second time. Maybe that's why I'm early to everything, because it's been instilled in me that you don't waste people's time. It's rude. Anyways, that's my tangent on the tardiness and the lack of professionalism in this town. You will notice it as soon as you get here. You'll notice it with the drivers. You'll notice it with everyone you deal with. If you need something done to your house, if you need to buy or sell a house, if you need your washer and dryer installed, your internet installed, you will see it. You will see it, and I'm warning you right now. And if you don't see it, you're lucky. Be thankful. Hug them. Tip them extra, whatever. Oh, that's another thing. People here don't tip. So I hate to break it to you, Angel, but if you are in the restaurant field, people don't tip here, okay? I worked at the Melting Pot, which some of you may know what that is, some of you may not. It's a higher end restaurant, very expensive. People don't tip. It blew my mind. And I think it's because so many people commute to school, to work, to shop, to whatever, visit family from Mexico, because we're so close, we're like 10 minutes away. I think that in Mexico, the average percent that people tip or are supposed to tip or whatever it is 10%. I think that's the norm there. So people come up here to do whatever and they tip you 10% and think that it's normal. It's not normal. You tip 20%. 20% is normal. 20% is what I'm used to. It's not that way. Continue tipping people 20%, by the way. If you move down here, don't think that you can just stop tipping 20%. You need to show people what is normal and what's not, because 10% is not normal. No one can live off of that. That's insane. But I have met some really amazing people out here through my restaurant jobs, through the military in general, like people that my boyfriend works with. They have amazing wives and girlfriends, and I've made some really great friends out here. As far as the base goes, I'm sure you've heard that at this point that Fort Bliss is one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the nation. I can't remember. It is huge. I remember driving down through New Mexico, obviously from Colorado to Texas, and we were driving through New Mexico and we had about an hour left. Well, it was probably closer to an hour and a half left of our drive. And we drove by a sign that said, "Welcome to Fort Bliss." And I was like, what? And I remember calling John because we were driving two different cars. And I was like, did that sign say Fort Bliss? And he was like, oh yeah, we're technically in Fort Bliss right now. And I was like, that is huge. Huge, dude. To still be in Fort Bliss. I know that that's probably where they do field training and stuff. It's not actually base, but it's huge, you guys. I don't know. Anyways, so it's gigantic. I obviously don't live on base because we're not married. The housing seems like base housing. It's no different from any other base that you've been on. They all look the same. They're all cookie cutter. It's basically everything that you've seen on base before, but in a shade of tan, because we're in the desert, and apparently the only colors that they use for houses here are shades of dusty rose and sand colors. So imagine that and do with it what you will. The shopping situation on base is nice. The PX is nice. They have an outdoor mall, which is actually really pretty, palm trees. I mean, it's nice. It's a really nice base. I wouldn't necessarily want to live on base, but that's just me. It's probably very, very, very convenient for military couples who are married and have children. So if you do end up living on base, you'll probably like it. If you've lived on base before, you know what to expect. It is big, it is nice. and it's in a part of town that is very convenient if you like doing things, because we live on the east side, which there's not much going on, I'll be honest. So the base, again, spreads kind of all over El Paso, but is mostly like north, central, and northwest, I would say. So the west side of town is where downtown is. Central is kind of where there's more like malls and things to do. And then south is obviously like Mexico. So if you live central, if you live on the west side, you're closer to everything, which is really nice. On the east side here, if you do decide to live on the east side, we have Super Target. There are so many new strip malls coming up. There's restaurants, a lot of fast food, you guys. I don't know what it is about El Paso, but like I've never been around so much fast food in my life. So prepare for that. Everything is really up and coming. I would say El Paso is like 10, 15 years behind everybody else. So when we first moved here, there wasn't a whole lot. We were kind of like, oh, damn, like there's not much to do here. But even, I mean, the west side can't really grow. They kind of have to tear down and rebuild because there's no more space. Like everything's very congested. Downtown and like that side of town, there's nowhere to go but up. So you'll notice that like, sorry, this is gonna be a really long video, but I got a lot to share, so just bear with me. If you're still here, if you are still here, you are the real MVP, because this is a long video. Anyways, so downtown, you'll notice, is being kind of torn down, which when I was working at the first place that I was at, it was a hotel. It was kind of eerie because I've never been in a downtown, you know, you're thinking city, lights, action, you know, lots of cars, people everywhere. No, it looks like a city. It looks like a tiny little city. There's still skyscrapers. There's still buildings everywhere, office buildings, you know, whatever. Baseball stadium, all of that. But they are redoing so many of those buildings and tearing out so many shops and rebuilding. So a lot of the like tall buildings are empty, which is like very post-apocalyptic for me. I think that it's really, really eerie to be in a city and it be empty. I think that's so creepy, but it's because they're rebuilding. They're in the process of becoming what every other city in the United States looks like. So I would give them 5-10 years to kind of, you know, at least get a couple skyscrapers up and really start building their downtown. The east side, I already discussed this in my last video, so check that one out, the one right before this one. I already kind of went over the east side is booming. It's why we're building a house right now. There's so many strip malls and restaurants going up and around here. So I just know that by the time we leave here, it's really gonna be poppin', and it's kind of annoying because we're gonna be here for the building stage and then we're gonna leave right before it gets cool. So if you aren't being transferred to Fort Bliss, but you think that that might be a possibility in the future, I would consider, if you have the option, I would consider putting down Fort Bliss within like 5 years from now, if you're not already moving here. If you are moving here soon, it's fine. Like, it has grown so much just in a year that I can't even fathom what it's gonna look like in 3 years when we move. You know, and we're not thrilled about being here for another 3 years, but my idea, the way we've decided to look at it, is why move again? And why reacclimate to a new city, new surroundings, new friends, new job, new house, have to do this all over again when we're just now getting used to everything? We really are adapting to the people, to the house, to the climate, to the area. I mean, we're finally like breaking ground and like feeling like this is a little bit more like home. It does not feel like home, but it's feeling a little bit more like that. Like when we go visit somewhere, we're like ready to go home, which is kind of a cool feeling where we actually feel like this is our home in a way. It's temporary, but it's our home. I think the only other thing that I will note, and most people probably already know this, but El Paso is predominantly a Hispanic culture. And when I figured that out before we moved, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to have like authentic everything, like authentic Mexican food. You know, I can't wait to be kind of like immersed in that culture. I was really, really excited. It's not what you're thinking it's gonna be. I don't know about you guys, but I've been to Mexico a lot, and I've been to resorts, but I've also stayed in like tiny towns that are not touristy. Like I've done the whole thing. So I kind of had that in my head, but I was like trying to figure out like an Americanized version of it, and it wasn't what I expected. While I do love Hispanic culture, I've never lived somewhere where there's only one. Does that make sense? Like it's a very weird adjustment to go from living in quite literally a melting pot of cultures, religions, colors, I mean, races, different people. Like it's so weird to go from being surrounded by a bunch of different people who don't look like you, and I've always grown up like that, minus like the Highlands Ranch era. That's all white. It's all white. But predominantly I've been around a bunch of different looking people, to all of a sudden moving somewhere where there's only really one culture and one, you know, like race. It's very weird at first because you're like, oh my God. And it's kind of funny because when we first moved here, John was like, wow, we found your people. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I am Hispanic, but it was just a definite adjustment to be surrounded by people who are all the same except for you. Like poor John. I think he's like the only Asian I've seen in like 3 months. Or probably, I don't even know. But like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's very weird to only be around one culture all the time. Like I would feel this way if I was in a town filled with white people. I'd be very like, what is this? You know? It's just, it's weird because you're used to being in a melting pot, and depending on where you're, sorry, I got cut off by a phone call. But depending on where you're from, you're either used to being around just one culture, one race, one religion all the time, or you're like me where you're used to being around a ton of different people all the time. So that was an adjustment, but it is pretty cool to be surrounded by a culture that you're not used to and learn new things and, you know, try new food and do all of those fun things. So that's something to definitely like look forward to. If, you know, that's something that you're interested in. There's a ton of culture here, you guys, a ton. So you'll definitely enjoy that. I mean, if you have kiddos, there's a zoo, a water park, malls. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do. I noticed off and on base, by the way. The base does host a lot of really fun like festivals and stuff for kiddos. I noticed that it's very geared towards families. Not so much couples that are childless, which is fine. We can figure out our own lives, but a lot of the festivities that Fort Bliss puts on throughout the year is very family oriented. Everyone, of course, is invited to do all of the things, but we notice it's very like geared towards kiddos. So if you do have kids, that's good. You know, they're not going to be bored. I've heard the schools are great here. I think you guys will be fine. You all will be fine. We're getting to the point where like we like more things about El Paso than we don't, which is good. Know that will happen for you too, most likely. Of course, the longer you are somewhere, you either love it more or hate it more. I think that we're pretty neutral as for right now. At the end of the day, I think that anywhere that you're sent, there's going to be pros and cons no matter what. I definitely feel like we could have been sent somewhere worse. So, for this being our first station, I am very blessed. We live in a beautiful house. Go Texas, because everything's cheap. We live in a beautiful house. We've made lovely friends. Like, people are very nice here. Can't beat that, honestly. The prices are great. Everything is very cheap here. Not only because it's Texas, but because it's El Paso, and most people don't think to move to El Paso when they think Texas. They think Dallas, they think Fort Worth, they think, I don't know, San Antonio, Austin, I mean, Houston. They don't think El Paso, so you will find some amazing deals, which is another reason why we're building a house here, because it is so cheap to live, but it is also growing so quickly, you guys. So if you were like me, you got a little nervous, and when you heard El Paso, you kind of thought in your head like, oh my God, Breaking Bad, you know, like middle of nowhere desert, which it can be. It can be like that, and it can feel a little isolated sometimes because you're so far away from Austin, you're so far away from Dallas, you're so far away from the ocean, you're landlocked. If that's not something you're used to, get used to it. But there's mountains, there's hiking, there's camping, there's a lot to do if you let your mind be open to it. So as much as I have vented in an effort to try to like, I don't know, get you mentally prepared for what you may experience in El Paso, remember too that everything is what you make it. So if you go into this experience with a positive attitude and thinking, okay, I think I know what to expect, but I'm really excited about this, this, and this, be excited. I mean, any new adventure is going to be a good adventure if you make it one. So if you are moving to Fort Bliss, like, we will welcome you with open arms. I hope it's soon. I hope that we meet. I hope that I see you and we can become friends. We can always use more friends here. But it's gonna be fun if you make it fun. If you live on base, great. If you don't live on base, great. There's more options, obviously, if you live off, but if living on is your only option, you will love it. Fort Bliss is a very nice base. Yeah, you're gonna be fine. You're moving to the desert. There's no snow, no winter. If that's something you're into, great. The people are nice, laid back as can be. That may work for some people. Obviously, it doesn't work for me, but it may work for people who are used to the hustle and bustle and they just want to slow down, if you've never been around Hispanic culture, you are about to get a big lesson in it because it's everywhere. Almost everyone here is Spanish speaking. Obviously, people speak English too. Almost everyone speaks both, which is crazy to me. So you'll get to dive into that kind of a thing and just kind of, have a really unique experience that you probably won't be getting anywhere else. So if you think about it in that respect, El Paso is going to be a blast for you and your family, or you and your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever. And if you guys need any help, if you have any more questions, if you need help, looking for areas to live, because that was a big thing for me. I had no idea where to start looking for a house. I didn't know if it was better to live on the west side or if it was better to live on the east side. I prefer the east, but you are far away from everything. The east is newer developments, newer homes, more of a suburban feel. You're kind of out there though. You're not near downtown. Downtown, think a lot of older homes, apartments, very downtowny vibe that pretty much every downtown has. If you are wanting something kind of in the middle, Central is the way to go. There's apartments, there's homes, they're still kind of older, but there are some newer ones, townhomes. There's a ton of things to look into. If you guys need any help, that is what I'm here for. I would love to help you out. I'd love to make new friends. Again, not here to offend anyone. If El Paso is your home and has been your entire life, would never, ever want somebody to come to me and be like, hey, Colorado's a shithole. Like, I would never want someone to say that to me, but I would also understand that, like, if you're from somewhere else, that might be your perspective of Aurora or Denver or whatever. I understand that. So please understand that this is just my opinion. I've never been anywhere like this. We're all acclimating, and it just is what it is. I love you all so, so incredibly much. Thank you all for being here. If you are still here watching this video, I should like send you a gift card or something, because I knew this video was going to be long, but there was a lot to cover. It's been a full year of experiences, and I'm just so glad that I get to share them with you guys, and I hope this helps somebody. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. El Paso is awesome. We can't wait to have you here, and I'll see you guys for the next video.